What if the answers you've been searching for, the clarity, peace, and purpose you've been longing for, aren't where you think they are? What if they're not in the endless loops of overthinking, analyzing, or solving? What if they've been right here all along, hidden just beyond your thoughts? The truth is, your mind isn't the key to unlocking your true self. As powerful as it is, the mind has its limits. It thrives on breaking things down, analyzing and dissecting. But the deeper truths of life, they can't be solved like a puzzle. In this video, we're going to explore why the mind keeps leading you astray, why the clarity you crave can't be found in your thoughts, and most importantly, how you can step beyond the noise and into a space of true freedom and peace. Stay with me, because the realization you're about to uncover could change your life forever. The mind is an incredible tool, a masterpiece of evolution. It can calculate, analyze, and dream up endless possibilities. But as remarkable as it is, it has its boundaries most of us never even notice. Imagine your mind as a flashlight in the dark. It's powerful in illuminating what's directly in front of you, but no matter how bright the beam, it can never reveal the entirety of the room. The mind works the same way. It shines a light on fragments of reality, but it can't grasp the whole picture, and therein lies its first limitation. You see, the mind thrives on breaking things down into manageable pieces. It simplifies the infinite complexity of life into categories: good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. But here's the problem: life isn't black and white. Life exists in infinite shades of gray, and this oversimplification distorts the truth. The more the mind tries to fit life into neat little boxes, the more disconnected you become from what's real. Think about it. Let's say you're wrestling with a tough decision, whether to quit your job, for example. What does the mind do? It jumps into overdrive. It makes lists of pros and cons. It replays past experiences over and over, and it speculates endlessly about what the future might hold. But after all that effort, are you really any closer to clarity? Or do you just feel more confused, more paralyzed by overanalysis? This is where the mind's second limitation becomes clear. It isn't designed to give you clarity. It's designed to dissect, to analyze, to problem solve. And the harder it works, the more tangled it gets in its own loops. Instead of clarity, you're left feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and stuck. The truth is, the answers you're looking for, peace, meaning, purpose, aren't things you can think your way into. They're not intellectual concepts. Peace isn't something you figure out, it's something you feel. Meaning isn't something you solve, it's something you experience. And because these truths lie beyond the mind's reach, the mind can't give them to you. This doesn't mean the mind is useless, not at all. It's a powerful servant, but it's a terrible master. When you let it dominate, it leads you in circles, chasing answers it can never provide. But when you recognize its limits, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see that there's more to life, something beyond the constant chatter and analysis. So if the mind can't give you the clarity you seek, where does that clarity come from? To find out, you need to step outside the mind entirely, and that's where the journey truly begins. Overthinking, it's something we've all been trapped in at some point. The mind loves to convince us that if we just think a little harder, analyze a little more, or replay every possible scenario, we'll finally figure it all out. But here's the truth: overthinking isn't the path to clarity. It's the road to confusion, anxiety, and exhaustion. Think back to the last time you were stuck in your head. Maybe it was about a relationship, a career decision, or what someone thought of you. Your mind likely kicked into high gear, replaying the same scenarios over and over, trying to predict every possible outcome. And what did all that thinking get you? Did it solve the problem? Or did it leave you feeling even more unsure, more tangled in uncertainty? This is the trap of overthinking. It feels productive, like you're making progress, but in reality, you're running on a mental treadmill. You're expending so much energy, yet you're stuck in the same place, spinning in circles. The more you analyze, the more layers you add to the problem, until it feels like an insurmountable mess. Why does this happen? Because overthinking amplifies problems rather than solving them. The mind acts like a magnifying glass, zooming in so intensely on one aspect of a situation that it becomes distorted and blown out of proportion. Something small, like a disagreement with a friend, can spiral into thoughts like, what if they don't like me anymore? What if I've done something wrong? What if I'm just not good enough? These thoughts feel so real, but they're not reality. They're projections of the mind's fears and insecurities. Overthinking thrives on fear, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of uncertainty, fear of letting go. The mind believes that by obsessing over every detail, it can somehow control the outcome. But control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and no amount of mental rehearsal can prepare you for every twist and turn. The more the mind tries to hold on, the more stuck you feel. So how do you escape this trap? The answer lies not in thinking harder, but in stepping back. The mind is like a hamster on a wheel, constantly running, because it doesn't know how to stop. But here's the paradox: the moment you stop engaging with the mind's chatter, something magical happens. The wheel slows down. The noise begins to fade. And in that stillness, clarity emerges, not from thinking, but from simply being. Imagine your thoughts as a stormy sea. When you're caught in overthinking, it's like being tossed around by the waves, struggling to stay afloat. But when you step back, you stop fighting the waves. You become the observer watching the storm from the safety of the shore. You realize that the storm isn't permanent. It will pass. And beneath the surface, the water is always calm. Breaking free from the trap of overthinking doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, a gentle process of noticing when you're caught in the mind's loops and choosing to let go. Instead of getting swept up in the mental noise, you can shift your focus to something grounding, like your breath or the present moment. In doing so, you create space, a gap where the mind's grip begins to loosen and peace begins to take root. Overthinking is one of the mind's favorite games, but it's a game you don't have to play. By recognizing its patterns and choosing to step back, you reclaim your freedom. And in that freedom, you'll discover that the answers you've been chasing were never in the mind to begin with. They've been waiting for you all along, just beyond it. So if the answers you seek can't be found in the mind, where do they exist? The truth is, they've been right here all along, in a space that's often overlooked, a space beyond the mind. This isn't some distant, mystical realm. It's a part of you, always present, always accessible. It's the space of awareness, presence, and being. To understand this space, imagine your mind as a stormy sky, filled with clouds of thoughts, worries, and judgments. These clouds can seem overwhelming, blocking out the light, making you feel trapped in the storm. But what if you could shift your focus? What if, instead of getting lost in the clouds, you turned your attention to the sky itself, the vast, open expanse that holds the storm? That sky is your awareness. It's unchanging, untouched by the turbulence of your thoughts. No matter how chaotic the storm, the sky remains calm and infinite. Most people spend their entire lives focused on the clouds. They chase their thoughts, analyze their worries, and try to control the uncontrollable. In doing so, they lose sight of the sky, the space beyond the mind where true peace and clarity reside. But here's the good news: this space isn't something you have to create or earn. It's already there. It's always been there. You've just been too distracted by the noise to notice it. You've likely experienced this space before, even if you didn't realize it. Think about those moments when time seemed to stand still. Maybe it was watching a breathtaking sunset, listening to a song that touched your soul, or sitting in silence with a loved one. In those moments, the mind faded into the background, and you experienced life directly. There were no judgments, no worries, no analysis, just pure presence. That's the space beyond the mind. But why is this space so powerful? Because it's the source of everything you've been searching for. Peace doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in the silence between them. Clarity doesn't come from overanalyzing, it comes from stepping back and simply seeing. And meaning isn't something you construct. It's something you feel in your core when you're fully present. The beauty of this space is its simplicity. The mind thrives on complexity, on making things harder than they need to be. It wants you to believe that finding peace and clarity requires effort, struggle, and endless problem solving. But the space beyond the mind shows you a different truth. Peace isn't something you achieve. It's something you notice. Clarity isn't something you force. It's something that arises naturally when you let go. So how do you begin to access this space? Start by shifting your attention away from the mind's noise. Imagine yourself stepping back from your thoughts, like a curious observer watching clouds drift by. You don't have to engage with the thoughts or try to stop them. Just notice them. And as you do, notice the stillness in the background, the quiet presence that's always there, holding everything. This space beyond the mind isn't a place you go to. It's a state of being. It's not about doing, it's about allowing. Allowing the mind to settle, allowing yourself to be present, and allowing life to unfold without resistance. The more you practice this, the more you'll realize that this space isn't far away. It's right here, right now, waiting for you to notice it. So take a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. And let yourself feel the presence that exists beyond your thoughts. This is where the answers live, not in the noise, but in the silence. Not in the mind, but in the awareness beyond it. And in this space, you'll discover a freedom and peace that nothing in the external world can give you. This is the space where life truly begins. Accessing the space beyond the mind might sound abstract, but it's simpler than you think. It's not about achieving something new. It's about noticing what's already here. The challenge is that the mind resists this simplicity. It thrives on complexity, convincing you that clarity and peace are difficult to attain. But the truth is, the tools to access this space are within you, and they've been with you all along. One of the most powerful tools you have is your breath. The breath is always in the present moment. It doesn't exist in the past or the future. By bringing your attention to your breath, you naturally pull yourself away from the chatter of the mind and into the here and now. Try this. Close your eyes and take a deep, slow breath. Feel the air as it enters your nose, fills your lungs, and flows out again. Notice the subtle sensations, the coolness of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. As you do this, you may notice something remarkable. Your thoughts begin to quiet, and a sense of stillness starts to emerge. Another technique is to observe your thoughts without judgment. Most of us live in constant identification with our thoughts. If a thought arises, "I'm not good enough," or "what if something goes wrong," we believe it without question. But what happens when you step back and simply watch your thoughts, as if they were clouds passing through the sky? Suddenly you realize that your thoughts are not you. They're just patterns of energy, arising and dissolving on their own. You don't have to engage with them. You don't have to believe them. This simple act of observation creates a gap, a space where peace and clarity naturally arise. You can also anchor yourself in the present moment through mindful awareness. This doesn't require a special setting or a lot of time. You can practice mindfulness anywhere, at any moment. For instance, as you drink your morning coffee, bring your full attention to the experience. Notice the warmth of the cup in your hands, the aroma rising with the steam, the taste of the first sip. When you focus on these sensory details, your mind quiets and you connect with the present moment, the space beyond thought. Another way to access this space is through surrender. This doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means releasing the need to control every detail of life and trusting in the natural flow of things. Think of life as a river. The mind wants to row upstream, fighting against the current, trying to control every outcome. But when you surrender, you let go of the oars. You allow the river to carry you, trusting that it knows the way. In that surrender, you find not weakness, but strength, a deeper connection to the rhythm of life. You might also try a simple practice of sitting in silence. In a world filled with distractions, silence can feel uncomfortable at first. But in that silence, something profound begins to happen. The mental noise starts to settle, like muddy water becoming clear when left undisturbed. You begin to notice the stillness beneath the noise, the space where true clarity and peace reside. It's important to remember that accessing the space beyond the mind isn't about perfection. You don't need to get it right. There's no finish line, no checklist to complete. It's a practice, a gentle returning to yourself, moment by moment. Some days, your mind will be noisier than others, and that's okay. The key is to approach the practice with curiosity and kindness, without judging yourself. The more you engage with these techniques, the more natural they become. Over time, you'll find that the space beyond the mind isn't some far-off state. It's here, now, in the background of your awareness. It's in the breath you just took. It's in the stillness between your thoughts. It's in the act of simply being present. So start small. Take one deep breath. Observe one thought. Spend one moment fully present. Each step, no matter how small, is a step toward freedom. And with every step, you'll find yourself moving closer to the peace and clarity that have been waiting for you, just beyond the mind. Control. It's something we all crave. The mind tells us that if we can just control every detail of our lives, we'll be safe, successful, and happy. It convinces us that through endless planning, worrying, and strategizing, we can bend life to our will. But let me ask you, how often does this work? How many times have you tried to control a situation only to feel more anxious, more frustrated, and further away from peace? The truth is, the mind's obsession with control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, chaotic, and beautifully uncontrollable. No matter how hard the mind tries to prepare, life has a way of surprising us. Yet the mind resists this reality. It clings tightly to the idea of control because it fears the unknown. It believes that by holding on, it can protect you from uncertainty, failure, or pain. But in reality, this clinging only creates suffering. Think of all the energy you've spent rehearsing conversations in your head, replaying past mistakes, or trying to predict every possible outcome of a decision. Did it make you feel more prepared, or did it leave you exhausted and disconnected from the present moment? This is the cost of the illusion of control. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of overthinking, constantly running from the present in a futile attempt to secure the future. So, what's the alternative? Surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop caring or become passive. True surrender is about letting go of the need to control everything and learning to flow with life, rather than fight against it. It's about trusting the natural rhythm of life, even when you can't see where it's leading you. Imagine you're in a boat on a river. The current is strong, but instead of flowing with it, you're paddling upstream, exhausting yourself, trying to go against the flow. This is the mind's approach to life, constant resistance. But when you surrender, you put down the oars. You let the river carry you. You conserve your energy for what truly matters, navigating with the flow instead of against it. This is the essence of surrender, working with life's current, not resisting it. Surrender is not about abandoning effort, it's about shifting your focus. Instead of obsessing over things you can't control, you direct your energy to the things you can, your actions, your mindset, and your ability to be present. For example, you can't control how others will react to you, but you can choose how you show up. You can't control every twist and turn of life, but you can choose to meet each moment with openness and curiosity. One of the most profound aspects of surrender is the freedom it brings. When you let go of the need to control, you release the weight of unnecessary burdens. You stop fighting reality and start embracing it. And in that acceptance, you create space for clarity, creativity, and unexpected solutions to arise. You begin to see that life often has a wisdom of its own, one that the mind can't always predict or understand. Of course, surrender isn't easy. The mind will resist it fiercely, clinging to its illusions of control. But surrender isn't a single act, it's a practice. Start small. The next time you're stuck in traffic, instead of resisting the delay, try accepting it. Take a deep breath, Let go of the frustration and allow yourself to be present. Notice how it feels to release that tension, even for a moment. Over time, as you practice surrender, you'll discover that life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance. You'll find that even in the midst of uncertainty, there's a deep sense of peace in letting go. Surrender isn't about losing yourself, it's about finding the part of you that's always been free, the part that doesn't need to control because it trusts the flow of life. So, take a moment now. Reflect on something you've been trying to control. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go? To trust that life will unfold as it's meant to, without your constant interference. As you explore this practice, you'll begin to see that surrender isn't a weakness. It's a doorway to freedom, to clarity, and to a life lived with greater ease and joy. In the end, surrender is a gift you give yourself. It's the choice to stop rowing against the current and let the river carry you. And when you do, you'll realize that life doesn't need to be controlled, it just needs to be lived. In a world that glorifies busyness, stillness is often misunderstood. We're told to hustle harder, stay productive, and always be on the move. Stillness, in contrast, can feel like doing nothing, like being unproductive. But here's the paradox: stillness isn't the absence of action, it's the foundation for meaningful action. It's in the stillness that clarity is born, that creativity arises, and that peace is rediscovered. Stillness is a powerful antidote to the chaos of the mind. Think of your thoughts as a jar of muddy water. When you keep shaking it, when you're constantly thinking, planning, worrying, the water stays cloudy. But when you set the jar down and leave it undisturbed, the mud begins to settle, and the water becomes clear. The same is true for your mind. In stillness, the mental noise begins to quiet, and you can see reality as it truly is, not as the mind distorts it. But here's the challenge: the mind resists stillness. It thrives on activity, on constant movement. To the mind, stillness feels like a threat. It fears silence because silence reveals the truth, that the mind isn't as essential as it wants you to believe. It's in the silence that you realize you are not your thoughts, not your worries, not your fears. You are the awareness beneath it all, the presence that remains when the mental chatter fades away. Have you ever experienced a moment where everything felt perfectly calm, even if just for a second? Maybe it was sitting by a quiet lake, watching a sunset, or simply closing your eyes and taking a deep breath. In those moments, you weren't lost in thought. You weren't trying to solve problems or plan your next move. You were simply being. That's the power of stillness. It reconnects you with your essence, with the part of you that exists beyond the mind. Stillness doesn't require hours of meditation or retreating to a monastery. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly, to focus on your breath, or to observe your surroundings without judgment. For example, right now, pause for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the air entering your nose and filling your lungs. Notice the sensation of your body in this moment. As you do this, the noise of your thoughts begins to fade, even if just a little. That is stillness. It's subtle, but it's profound. The power of stillness lies in its ability to ground you in the present moment. When you're still, you're no longer chasing the future or clinging to the past. You're simply here, now. And in this presence, something extraordinary happens. The mind's endless questions lose their urgency. The need to analyze and solve fades away. And in the silence, the answers you've been searching for often reveal themselves, not through thinking, but through clarity that arises naturally. Stillness is also where creativity is born. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas often come when you're not trying to force them? Maybe they arise in the shower, during a walk, or as you're falling asleep. This happens because stillness creates space for inspiration, insight, and intuition to flow. When you stop trying to control every thought, you make room for the unexpected, for the wisdom that comes from beyond the mind. In stillness, you also rediscover a sense of peace that isn't dependent on external circumstances. Life may be chaotic, but within you, there is a center, a calm, unshakable presence that remains untouched by the storms of the world. Think of it like the eye of a hurricane. The winds may swirl around you, but in the center, there is calm, balance, and perspective. Stillness connects you to that center, reminding you that peace isn't something you need to find. It's something you already are. Stillness is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time to cultivate. At first, the mind will resist. It will flood you with thoughts, distractions, and excuses. But with patience and consistency, you'll find that those moments of stillness grow deeper and more natural. You'll begin to crave them, not as an escape, but as a way to reconnect with the truth of who you are. So start small. Set aside a few minutes each day to simply be. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Notice the sensations of the present moment. And when your mind starts to wander, and it will gently bring your attention back to your breath, back to the stillness. With time, this practice will become a refuge, a source of clarity and peace that you can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. In the end, the power of stillness isn't about retreating from life. It's about living life more fully. It's about approaching each moment with presence, with awareness, and with an open heart. In stillness, you remember that you are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness in which they arise. And in that realization, you'll find a freedom, a peace, and a clarity that no amount of mental effort could ever provide. So take a moment right now, close your eyes, breathe, and let yourself rest in the stillness. This is where your power lies, not in doing, but in being. As we come to the end of this journey, I invite you to pause and reflect on everything we've explored together. The answers you've been searching for, the clarity, peace, and purpose you've been longing for, were never outside of you. They've always been here within you, waiting for you to notice. Beyond the noise of the mind, beyond the endless cycles of overthinking and striving, there is a space of stillness, awareness, and presence. And in that space lies your true freedom. Now, it's your turn to take the first step. You don't need to transform your life overnight or master every technique we discussed. Start small. Take just one deep breath. Spend a single moment observing your thoughts without judgment. Allow yourself a minute of stillness each day. These tiny steps may seem insignificant, but they are profound. Each one is a doorway into the space beyond the mind, a space that can change your life forever. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to take it further. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of this journey spoke to you the most? What practices are you excited to try? Let's start a conversation and support one another on this path toward inner peace and freedom. And if you found value in this video, don't keep it to yourself. There's someone out there, someone you know, who is stuck in the noise of their mind, searching for answers in all the wrong places. Share this video with them. You could be the spark that helps them rediscover the peace that's already within them. Don't forget to like this video if it brought you clarity, and subscribe to Inner Alchemy for more journeys like this one. This channel is dedicated to helping you reconnect with your essence, step beyond the limits of the mind, and live a life of authenticity, presence, and purpose. By subscribing, you become part of a community, a space where we can grow and explore together. Remember, the path to peace isn't about doing more, achieving more, or thinking harder. It's about letting go, surrendering, and reconnecting with the truth of who you are. It's about stepping into the stillness, beyond the storm of the mind, and rediscovering the infinite potential of your inner alchemy. Thank you for watching and for being a part of this journey. Take what resonates, practice what feels right, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be. The answers you seek are already within you. Until next time, stay present, stay aware, and remember, you are more than your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. See you in the next video.